Sure.
It kind of helps with some stuff that I work on with these. It looks pretty good. So, the first thing that I would like, I'm going to do one thing that just helps me mark where we are in both sets of clips.
Okay.
But I would like for you to tell me your name and who you are in, I guess, a story.
Okay.
So in relation to Rachel. So.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm Janice Ramirez, and I'm Rachel Pratt's mother. She's the oldest of my 8 children. Beautiful girl, smart, attractive, loved her dearly. And she's been missing since she was 15 years old. She went to a band concert that night, and I went and heard her. And I came home, and before I went to work, she actually got back from the band concert, so I got to see her afterwards. Told her how good she did. She had like 4 solos in the jazz band. She did, great. And I went on to work to Garden Valley Retirement Village, and she actually had a little job in the laundry. And so I was like, well, don't stay up late tonight because, you got to work tomorrow. And she just did it on the weekends. And so I went on to work. And later that night, I don't know, I thought, well, let me call the house and just remind her to go to bed.
Yeah. That's okay. She's
And
a
yeah,
teenager. I get
right.
it.
And so I called, and the line was busy. And I'm like, okay, that's strange because it's almost midnight, and why is the line busy at midnight, So I waited a little while longer and tried calling again. It was still busy, so I kind of gave that up. Well, I had the type of job where I would go and I would do like carpets and tile and things, and I could like do more hours one night, less hours another night.
Okay.
And it got like toward 2 in the morning, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna go on home tonight and I'll do more tomorrow night. And when I got here to the house, I walked in, and my 5-year-old son took some matches, and he tossed them in a rollaway bed in the basement. So nobody had been sleeping in the basement just because it still smelled a little smoky. It had been like, maybe a month or so before that.
Yeah.
And it hadn't done hardly any damage, but the rollaway bed had to be pulled outside, and it just had an odor of smoke. So when I walked in, and normally Rachel would have been on the couch sleeping, instead of downstairs. And I didn't see her there. And so I went and asked my husband, I said, oh my goodness, I said, is Rachel sleeping downstairs? She'll be sick, because the smell of that smoke. And he goes, well, yeah, I went to sleep with us watching, what was it, that Family Robinson movie? This is my daughter, Elaine. And so I told him, I said, oh man, I got to go downstairs and get her up. She can't sleep down there. So I go down there, and the clothes that she wore from the band concert was laying on the bed. Her coat that I had just got her, it was a Letterman jacket. It just didn't have the letters on it. We hadn't got to they hadn't came in the mail yet. It was gone. And I come upstairs, and I said, Peter, she's not here. And so I stayed up the rest of the night. And I heard a car slow down around about, I want to say 5. It was very early because it was right before it got daylight. And I said, that must be her coming. I hear cars coming down real slow. And I went to the back door, and I seen this car that I recognized as Epi Garcia's, and drove past my house, but it didn't stop.
Okay.
And so then it got like, and I can't remember if she had to go to work at 6:30 or whether it was 7. All I know is I knew how to do her job because it was laundry. It was just, putting clothes in the washing machine. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on to her job and help gather up the laundry and do what I can because I don't want her to lose her job. Well, another hour went by, and I'm, thinking she's going to call me. She's going to walk in the door. She's going to say, I'm sorry, Mom, that was terrible of me to do that, to you. And finally, like almost noon come, and my boss says, Jan, just go home. You've worked late last night. You've been up all night. Just going home. And so that was day 1, of her not coming home. And then another day went by, and I believe that first day, maybe later in the afternoon, we called the police, but they never came to my house. They never went downstairs to Rachel's where she kept her clothes. Finally, we made some posters. We put some posters around. Yeah. And then a girl said that she had seen Rachel at a payphone, and she gave her a ride to Dylan's store, and they seen the posters there in the store, and then Rachel left. And, then next thing you know, it's a month's gone by. And then, it just, that winter went fast. And I've never really known what happened to her. My fear is that maybe she got took to some big city, and, she was only 15, and it was the dead of winter.
Yeah.
And, how do you survive like that? I'm sorry, but, she was so young. She was so young. If she'd have been 18 or she'd been 20, but you're talking 15 years old, and and just to never know, never know what happened to her, I always felt like maybe when she got 18, I'd hear something, and maybe when she got a little older, somebody would hear something, and every year the police department, they call me up and ask me if I had, know anything, heard anything. They do their yearly, check in with, the family to see if we know anything. And we've had the detectives and, the KBI. And
Sure.
I really thought when she got 18 that the FBI would do something. And they said, well, we don't have proof that she was took against her will. Well, what does that matter? Whether she was took against her will or not.
She was a minor. So.
Yeah. So I never understood that. I never understood, she's a missing 15-year-old. Now she's, going to be 40 her birthday. Mm-hmm. So, because I'm 60, so that makes her going to be 40,
When she went missing, was that a surprise? Had she ever gone off, and not come home for a night or two or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Matter of fact, 2 weeks before she went missing, I said to Peter one day, I said, Rachel's so good, she's almost too good. Mm-hmm. If you said, Rachel be home at 10 o'clock at night, she walked in the door at 10 till 10. She made good grades in school. Mm-hmm. The only glitch of it all was I was in Walmart, and she had stole a in-home pregnancy test. And when I went back there, I go, what did she take? And they showed me, and I'm like, really? I couldn't believe it, Right. So we went to the health department, and yes, they verified that she was pregnant. And she made a statement at the police department, because I told her, I said, you're only 15 years old. You're not going to date some boy. You're not going to, this is wrong, And then later, Epi Garcia called the house one night, and I told him, I says, you need to go turn yourself in, Epi, is what you need to do. And he did this huge, long statement of, yes, how that he would sneak Rachel into the house, at his parents' house, and that, that he'd confessed to what he had done, But she knew that she had a doctor's appointment coming up. Somebody later told me that she'd even told him, I got a doctor's appointment coming up. So she wasn't depressed anymore. I'm not saying she wasn't, because no, I think she cried for the first quite some time when she first, because, she quit playing basketball. She turned her uniforms in. It was a sad time. But the night before, she goes and plays jazz band concert, And so I really don't think she meant to leave. I think that when she left again with him and knew that I had came home at 2 and seen her gone and then seen the car go by, I think they realized, oh, well, we got caught again.
Right.
That's what I think happened. That it was a matter of, okay, because he was 18. He was older than she was. And I really think that's what happened. But, to know for sure, no, I don't know.
Have you ever talked to him since then?
I confronted him once at the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, he cussed.
Still around here?
I wouldn't know him if I was to see him. But the
Okay.
time I confronted him, he just cussed me
Yeah.
and drove off.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just, and of course they charged him with indecent liberties with a child, and that went nowhere because she was missing. And I just don't know why they haven't questioned him more. I don't know why they haven't done a lie detector test on him, because everything that we know of points back to him. The girls that picked her up at the payphone said she was with him at the payphone.
Okay.
A month later, I was working at Family Crisis Services, and a lady that volunteered there, she said, Jan, I'm pretty well sure I seen Rachel and some guy in the alley behind Presto. And I said, well, where were they going? She said, well, it's toward Pershing Manor. I said, well, he only lives a block from Pershing Manor.
Yeah.
So, and she described him perfectly. She said, well, he wasn't that big, and I couldn't tell if he was Hispanic or if he was white. And I said, well, Epi's, you know, mixed, you know, and he runs track, and he's not very big. And she said, well, I lost him in the fog. And I'm like, well, why didn't you call the police, you know? And other times people have told me, well, we think we might have seen her in Walmart. Well, why didn't you call the police?
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
You know? You know, so, and I don't know. I don't know how you trace her now. I don't know how you go back and say, okay, well, where could she possibly be, you know?
Aside from those handful of sightings, nothing.
Right. And, you know, she's never contacted us.
And this is the same house?
Same house.
So same everything?
Same house, same
Oh.
everything. Same
gosh.
phone number.
Nothing's changed. Did
No.
you keep it that way for a reason?
Yeah. Well, we obviously don't leave the house because
That's
you know,
okay.
we've paid for the house. But
Yeah.
but no, I keep the phone number the same. You know, it would have been very easy for her to got back a hold of us.
That's why she's kept a landline all these years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I just don't know how she just like disappeared, you know. And I know you hear about it all the time. I just didn't think I'd be one of them parents
Well,
that would.
is, you know,
No.
you never think anything like this happens, and then it does, and it's just like, what do you do? And everyone's so overwhelmed. Some are disappointed with how police, a lot of them are disappointed with how police
Well, and they
responded.
tell me now, well, we do things so different now. Well, I'm sorry, that doesn't excuse it. I mean,
It doesn't
it's,
help it.
no, no. And I still feel that they could do more. I feel that they could question him, that they could bring him back into the police department and say, okay, you're the only possible person that's been seen with her. And they don't do it.
Yeah.
You know, they have some reason or another why they don't. I don't know.
Was he a student as well, or how did she meet him?
Yeah, they both ran track.
Okay.
She was,
Okay.
yeah. She was like a freshman. He was a senior.
Got it. Okay.
And you know, and you know, to be honest, there's other boys' names that are mentioned in a diary that she kept. Well, then go talk to them. Talk to them too. You know, it's just that's who she told me that she was pregnant by.
Sure.
And he did go to the police department and report that, you know, that he had been with her. So I just don't know. You know.
How strange. I don't know. It's just one of those things that I'm